It's midnight, you're standing in your kitchen, doom scrolling Zillow, looking for anything under $500,000 that doesn't look like a crime scene. You finally find one, but the kitchen has laminate comb from 2003. The carpet is beige with mystery stains. There are popcorn ceilings in every room. It's a renovation nightmare. Yet the listing agent has the audacity to caption it, "Charming started home." And you realize this $500,000 box is what society thinks you're worth. Meanwhile, you're sitting there doing mental math on your salary, running the numbers again and again like maybe you typed them wrong. You start wondering if you missed a massive promotion, or if there was a meeting about adulthood that you just didn't get the invite to. Spoiler alert. It's not you, it's the math. And the math is absolutely brutal. My name is Frank, and today we're going to do something real estate agents hate. We're going to calculate who can actually afford a $500,000 house in 2026. Not who the bank will give a loan to, but who can legitimately buy one without destroying their financial future. Because there's a massive, dangerous difference between qualifying for a mortgage and actually being able to sleep at night after you sign the papers. Qualifying is just the bank's risk model saying the loan probably won't default in the first 12 months. That's it. Affording it, that's different. Affording it means your life doesn't turn into a 24/7 financial stress simulator. It means not staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. chest tight, wondering if you can buy groceries and pay the mortgage. Today we're looking at the reality, not the pre-approval letter. Let's start with the uncomfortable reality. In dozens of us markets right now, $500,000 isn't luxury. It is the absolute baseline. That's not getting you a mansion. That's getting you a 200 square foot box with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a yard the size of a beach towel. In cities like Denver, Austin, or basically anywhere within a 1-hour commuting distance of a major metro, $500,000 is what normal people are expected to somehow come up with for normal houses. And normal here means dated. It means a furnace from the Bush administration. It means single-pane windows that leak heat like a sieve. It means fighting 20 other offers for a house that needs $50K and work on day one just to be livable. You walk in, and it smells like flipper gray, paint, and desperation. This is what the market demands. You accept $500,000 for something that feels smaller, cheaper, and more fragile than it has any right to be. Now take that $500,000 disappointment and hold it up against reality. The median household income in America is hovering around $84,000. So we are effectively asking people making $84K to buy homes that cost 6 times their annual gross income. 6 times, just sit with that ratio for a second. If that sounds insane to you, if your stomach tightens when you hear that number, congratulations. You are the only one paying attention, because that is an ass stretch. That is a mathematical cliff. And yet the entire system, the banks, the agents, the culture, just signed to push you right off the edge of it while telling you it's safe. But everyone around you keeps saying you can do it. The noise is deafening. Your parents say real estate never goes down, forgetting they bought their house for the price of a used Honda Civic in 1990. The mortgage broker says you're approved for $550,000 in because they get paid on the loan size, not your financial safety. And some 22-year-old on TikTok is screaming that you're throwing money away on rent. They are all lying to you about what affordable actually means. They confuse possible with smart. So before we even talk about the monthly payment, we have to talk about the first hurdle where most dreams go to die. The down payment. Let's start with the down payment, because this is where the fantasy usually ends for most people. The old school rule, the one your parents swear by, is 20% down on a $500,000 house. That is $100,000 in cash, not 401k equity you can't touch, not crypto cold hard liquid cash. Now look at your bank account. The median savings balance in America right now is sitting at a tragic $8,000. So you're not just a little short, you are $92,000 short. And before you say, I'll just tighten my belt and save it, let's run that math too. If you make the median $84,000 and somehow save 10% of your gross income, you almost nobody does in this inflation economy. That's $8,400 a year at that pace. It will take you 11 years just to save the down payment. By then, that $500,000 house will probably cost $800,000. You are chasing a train that has already left the station. So naturally, you skip the 20%. You put down 3.5% or 5% like everyone else. Congratulations. You just unlocked the special monthly punishment called Pay Me Private Mortgage Insurance. This is a fee that runs anywhere from $200 to $400 a month, basically forever. But here is the scam. That insurance does not protect you. If you lose your job, Pay Me doesn't pay your mortgage. It pays the bank if you fail. You are literally paying a monthly fine for the crime of not being rich enough up front. It is a poverty tax, plain and simple. Now let's build the actual monthly coffin you're about to climb into. Let's say you scrape together 10% down, lend $50,000. That leaves you with a $450,000 loan. At current interest rates hovering around 6.5% to 7%, your principal and interest payment lands at roughly $2,850. That number right there, that is the bait, because that is the only number the Zillow calculator shows you in big bold font. But you don't live in a calculator. You live in a county that wants its cut. Layer 1. Property taxes depending on where you live. Texas, New Jersey, Illinois. I'm looking at you. You're easily looking at $6,000 to $8,000 a year. Let's be conservative and call it $500 a month. Layer 2. Homeowners insurance. Thanks to climate change making hailfire and hurricanes more expensive, premiums have skyrocketed. In Florida or California, this is a nightmare for the rest of us. Add another $300 a month. Layer 3. Maintenance. The unsexy part. The water heater will explode. The roof will leak. The rule of thumb is 1% of the home's value per year. On a $500 house, that is $5,000 annually. That is $417 a month you must set aside, or you are living on borrowed time. Layer 4. The Pay Me. Don't forget the poverty tax we just talked about. Tack on another $300. So, let's do the real addition. $2,850. Mortgage, plus $500. Taxes, plus $300. Insurance, plus $417. Maintenance, plus $300. Pay Me Now. Your total monthly housing cost is now sitting at $4,367. $4,367. Every single month. That is not a mortgage payment. That is a lifestyle erasure. And remember, that number assumes nothing catastrophic happens. That assumes your HWA doesn't slap you with a special assessment, but assumes you don't need to furnish the place. That assumes you don't want to change those ugly cones from 2003. You are bleeding over $4,000 a month just for the privilege of having a roof that might leak on you. This is the math they don't put on the brochure. Here is where the rules start to contradict each other. Financial advisors will tell you that you should never spend more than 28% of your gross monthly income on housing expenses. That is the safe zone. Banks, on the other hand, are perfectly happy approving you as long as your total debt stays under 43%. Two rules, two very different definitions of safety. So let us reverse engineer this. If your housing cost is $4,367 per month, and that represents 28% of your income, you need to be making roughly $187,000 per year. Even if we use the bank's more forgiving rule of 43%, you still need to be pulling in around $150,000 annually, and this is the part that matters. One rule is designed to keep your life stable. The other is designed to ensure the bank makes a profit before you go broke. Which rule do you think you are actually living under? Now we arrive at the punchline. Only about 10% to 20% of households in the United States make $150,000 or more. That means roughly 80% of American households cannot comfortably afford a $500,000 home under any reasonable financial standard. This is not pessimism. This is just math being cruel. If you are watching this and feeling squeezed, it's because you are statistically likely to be in that 80%. So who is actually buying these houses? Some are dual-income households in high-paying fields like tech or medicine. Some have family money quietly helping with the down payment behind the scenes. And some are stretching themselves so thin that one medical bill, one job loss, or one bad year would collapse their entire financial life. From the outside, it all looks the same. But the math underneath is terrifying. Let us make this real. Meet a household we will call the Johnsons. They are two working professionals earning a combined $160,000 a year. That puts them well above the median. They are solidly upper middle class. On paper, they should be comfortable. This is the kind of income people point to and say, see, that is who this market is for. So let us watch what actually happens when a household like this buys a $500,000 home and tries to live inside the numbers. First, their gross income of $160,000 sounds impressive until the IRS shows up after federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, and maybe a modest 401 contribution so they do not retire poor. They are taking home around $9,500 per month. That is their actual money to live on. Now, subtract that $4,367 monthly housing cost we calculated earlier. They are left with $5,133 for literally everything else in their lives. Here comes the ladder of costs. 2 car payments because they both need to commute to work. There goes $800. Car insurance for 2 vehicles, another $250. Gas because nothing is walkable in suburbia, $300. Student loans because they needed those degrees to get the jobs that qualified them for the mortgage. Conservatively, $600. Health insurance premiums that their employers do not fully cover, $400. Groceries for a family that is trying to eat reasonably healthy and not just survive on processed food, $800 if they are careful. Utilities for that bigger house, including electricity, water, gas, internet, and phones, $450. We are now down to roughly $1,533 remaining. And notice what we have not touched yet. We have not touched clothing. We have not touched kids' activities or sports fees. We have not touched car repairs. We have not touched medical co-pays. We have not touched the psychological need to occasionally leave the house and pretend you have a life. Forget it. This household is spending 46% of their take-home pay on housing. Not 28%, not even 35%, nearly half. And these are not irresponsible people buying jet skis. They are just trying to live in a house that the market tells them is normal. Here is what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like checking your bank account before buying groceries. It feels like saying no to your kid's field trip because that $35 might be needed if the check engine light comes on. It feels like lying awake at 2 a.m. doing mental math about whether you can afford new tires this month or if you need to push it to next month and just pray it does not rain. It feels like being one unexpected expense away from disaster at all times. The HVAC breaks in the middle of July. That is $5,000 you do not have. Someone rear-ends you and your insurance deductible is $1,000. You're putting it on a credit card. Your kid needs braces. You are financing dental work like it is a car payment. This is the reality for households earning $160,000 trying to own a $500,000 home. It is not living. It is surviving inside a drywall box. It is constant, low-grade panic disguised as stability. Now imagine what it looks like for the household making $120,000 or $100,000 or, God forbid, the actual median income of $84,000. And median income, buying a $500,000 house is not tight. It is not even stretching. It is financial fantasy. It is mathematically impossible without either massive external help or accepting a level of risk that would make a skydiver nervous. If you are in that income bracket and you are looking at Zillow right now, you are looking at a mirage. You are trying to solve a puzzle that has pieces missing. But here is what makes this truly insidious. The housing market does not care about these numbers. Sellers list homes at $500,000 because that is what comparable houses sold for last week. Banks approve buyers at 43% debt to income because technically the loan won't default immediately. Real estate agents encourage buyers to stretch because their commission depends entirely on closing the deal. Notice the pattern? Nobody in the transaction has an incentive to tell you that you are about to financially drown yourself. Nobody gets paid when you say no. The bank makes money on the sale price. The insurance company makes money on the premium. The system is designed to get you into the house, not to ensure you can comfortably afford it long term. And here is the trap. Once you are in, once you have signed those papers and moved your furniture, you are stuck. You cannot just decide 6 months later that this was a mistake and walk away without destroying your credit score and losing your entire down payment. So people stay. They stay in homes they cannot afford, working jobs they hate because they cannot risk any income disruption, slowly watching their savings evaporate, wondering why they feel so stressed when they're supposedly living the American dream. Let me tell you what the harsh truth sounds like. For probably 70% to 80% of American households, a $500,000 home is not affordable, not sustainably, not without accepting a level of financial precariousness that would have been considered reckless. A generation ago, this is not about personal failure. This is not about not working hard enough or not being financially savvy. This is about a housing market that has completely disconnected from income reality. Home prices have increased roughly 400% since 1990. Median household income is up about 180% in the same period. The math does not work. It will not work. And yet we keep pretending it does. We keep telling people that if you just budget better, skip the avocado toast and work a side hustle, you can make it happen. But you cannot budget your way out of a structural alpha crisis. You cannot side hustle your way into a down payment when rent is already eating 40% of your income. You cannot manifest a lower interest rate through positive thinking. The gap is simply too wide for willpower to fix. What you can do is understand the actual numbers so you can make an informed decision. Maybe that decision is to keep renting and invest the difference in the S&P 500 instead of handing interest payments to a bank. Maybe it is to look at a $350,000 house instead, even if it means a longer commute or a smaller yard. Maybe it is to acknowledge that home and hip in your current market simply is not viable right now, and that is okay. Here's what nobody tells you. There is no prize for buying a house you cannot afford. There is no trophy for being house poor. You are allowed to opt out of a game that is rigged against you. So let us be direct. If you are looking at a $500,000 house right now and your household income is anywhere south of $140,000, you need to stop. Just stop. You are about to make a financial decision that will dominate and potentially ruin the next decade of your life. I do not care what the mortgage broker says you are approved for. I do not care what your real estate agent says is normal in your market. The numbers are the numbers. They do not care about your feelings, your optimism, or your Instagram-ready kitchen dreams. Let us talk about what happens when you ignore this advice, because plenty of people do. You convince yourself it will be fine. You buy the house. Month 1, you make the payment. It is tight, but you did it. Month 2, same thing. You are cutting back on eating out, canceling Netflix, skipping the gym membership, but you are managing. Then month 4 hits. Your car needs new brakes. That is $800 you did not budget for because every single dollar is already allocated to keeping the house. You put it on a credit card. Month 7. The air conditioning dies in July. The repair quote is $3,500. You do not have it. You finance it. Month 9. Your spouse's hours get cut at work. Suddenly you are $600 short every month. And that emergency fund you were supposed to build, it never happened because there was nothing left to say. This is the reality of being house poor. You own a house technically, though the bank really owns it for the next 30 years, but you cannot afford to live in it comfortably. You cannot afford to maintain it properly. You definitely an expected expert to enjoy it. Every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. Every financial decision is made through the lens of, can we still make the mortgage? You become a prisoner in your own home, working purely to pay for walls you are too stressed to appreciate. And here is the really twisted part. Because housing has become so unaffordable, we have normalized this misery. We have rebranded financial desperation as adulting. Oh, you are house poor? Welcome to home ownership? Cannot afford furniture for 3 of your rooms? That is just part of the journey. Eating ramen for dinner because all your money went to the mortgage. You are building equity, right? It is like we have collectively agreed to pretend that struggling to afford basic shelter is somehow a rite of passage rather than a symptom of a broken system. The math is screaming at you, but culture keeps whispering that you should buy anyway. Do not listen to the whisper. Look at the math. So let us reset what wealth actually means in 2026. It is not owning a massive house you can barely afford to furnish. It is having margin in your budget. It is being able to invest consistently in your 401k and Roth IRA. It is not lying awake at night wondering how you will cover next month's payment if the car breaks down. Real wealth is options. It is freedom. It is the ability to absorb a surprise expense without panic. And maybe most importantly, it is sleep. When your finances let you breathe, let you think, that you plan beyond the next bill, that is when money actually starts working for you instead of the other way around. If you are sitting there right now feeling priced out, feeling like home and hip is slipping away, feeling like you are failing at some fundamental adult milestone, I need you to understand something. You are not failing. You did not miss a secret meeting. You did not mess this up. The math changed underneath you. For decades, we were taught that home ownership was the obvious next step, that if you worked hard, saved responsibly, and played by the rules, this would all line up. But the rules did not stay the same. Prices ran, incomes lagged, and the gap between qualifying for a loan and actually being able to afford a life quietly turned into a canyon. The bank's yes was never designed to mean comfort. It was designed to mean the loan could survive. Those are catastrophically different things. So if the numbers do not work for you, walking away is not weakness. It is clarity. Choosing not to stretch your life to the breaking point is not giving up. It is refusing to confuse approval with security. There is no shame in saying, this does not make sense for me right now. There is no trophy for buying a house that makes you anxious, trapped, and constantly behind. There is no prize at the end of 30 years of stress. What the financial industry sells is a story. Buy now, stretch further, figure it out later. They profit when you sign, not when you sleep well. They profit when you accept risk, not when you preserve margin. And when something goes wrong, the consequences belong entirely to you. That does not make you irresponsible for opting out. It makes you honest. Qualifying and affording are two different things. One is about paperwork. The other is about your life, your energy, your relationships, your ability to plan beyond the next bill. If the math does not support that, the smartest move is not to force it. It is to step back. The game as it is currently structured is tilted against you. Pretending otherwise does not make you optimistic. It makes you vulnerable. Sometimes the most adult decision you can make is recognizing when a milestone has been turned into a trap and choosing not to walk into it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are just doing the math that everyone else keeps ignoring.